In spiritual experience in the lives of all the truly spiritual, mystical people in this world today, and there are many, many, many millions, the idea of absolute faith in God, no matter what, or where, or when, or how, we have absolute faith. I want to make this very clear because people just stepping into their spiritual life consciously, many people, the people who are spiritual, they don't know they are until one day the heaven opens through a friend, a word, something, and they get what they've been feeling all their life is a remarkable, wonderful purity. And no one in the world, nothing ever does anything but impinge upon it and make you more, turn you more in on yourself, and yet you're experiencing the fullness of God. And the point right now, the most important point ever of spirituality, especially for these days, where civilization and its discontents are about to completely implode, and we're all aware of that. But the spiritual amongst us are not concerned in that sense. We're concerned out of love and kindness. And this is the point right here, the most important point about spiritual awareness, about our relationship to the Almighty. In the East, they talk about the world being an illusion, or most in some religions, a way station to eternity. When you're truly spiritual, you're aware of an infinite presence, infinite in the sense of subtlety, purity, kindness, decency, wonder, warmth. It's endlessly more conscious and subtle. Subtle in the sense of this world. Everything is rough and tough. There's nothing rough and tough about it, although it's infinite presence, infinite power. God actually is God. So the spiritual amongst us are aware of a delicacy, a kindness, a purity, a warmth, a sweet embrace from the Almighty. In the sense of it is cloud-like, the most beautiful sunlit clouds in the morning, just very, the light disappearing into it and out and through it, and it's 1,000 trillion times more precious than that, and it's in our own experience. As a spiritual person, forgive me for doing this, I experience it all day, every day. We experience I have so many spiritual friends, and we're all isolated, but we're in the world because we're not concerned about that. We're in prayer around the clock, trying to bring our brethren, our brothers and sisters into the fold, as it were. This that we feel, called faith, is not a religious faith, it's spiritual consciousness. We're aware of a God of this universe that is infinitely more precious, yet is God. I hope these words are beginning to gather in our thought that the subtlety, the purity, the beauty, subtlety in terms of human experience, but not in terms of our own. Right now, I can see the Godhead, actual God of eternity. And it would be like 100 trillion times more delicate, more precious, more kind. Yet is God, but it's a different universe when you step into your spiritual awareness. It has no resemblance to this world. The idea of bodies in the Garden of Eden, in the scripture, if you're spiritual, I think Paul said, if you read the scripture right, you know, there's a mystery about it. And the mystery is that what he intended to say was, and probably sure did in those days, was that it was the mystery is that you have to be spiritual to understand the scripture. To understand any spiritual writing. And more than that, to understand that you have the faith and the power within you to transform, to change, to heal, to redirect, to correct everything and anything in this world at this time, because this world is just an impropriety in hell from your moment of birth till now, because physical bodies don't truly exist in spirituality. That's why it's called an illusion. Yes, it's very real and very painful. My days are rough. Because of your spirituality, if you're truly spiritual, you are slammed with stuff no one could believe. I get it all day. But I'm not here. I'm here for a reason, to help, redirect, correct, transform, heal all my friends and loved ones, my family, my Aunt Miriam and her beautiful flock. Touch my heart. I mean, there are people like that who are so divine, they just float through life and yet have a much tougher life than the rest of us. My nephew Brad, and of course Justine, my little niece. I have so many wonderful people like this, but I never connect or see them in the material world. I'm isolated and alone, but it's the way I have to do this at this point. I'm not connected on the internet. I've never been on a computer. Even this is my 80th year. It's like I have to do this from here. Transmit this understanding, this peace, this unimaginable humility that all of us who are spiritual, the millions and probably several hundred million, and the rest of it doesn't matter. It's the imagery. It's like the stark. Nothing physical has ever existed in God. This is the hellishness of it. All that, the idea of two bodies and sex, it's like, yeah, that you feel guilt and the lust. It's like in the spirit, like my dear friend, my mentor for this work, to put together the book After Time by Robert Rosenberg. Susan George, she was a city manager and like an off-the-charts genius, and we have a friendship. She helps with this work. She wouldn't, and then my teacher 50 years ago, Kathleen, who was like so close to God that I couldn't even look at her. And she's the one that, they're the two people that ever helped with this work. Everyone else gets confused. Want to do this or that? I don't. No, I'm going to sit alone quietly and raise the sense of knowing God that way. Don't need to leave my easy chair. I will, and it's time, but it's, I'm speaking for all of us. These are your words, our words. My books that I wrote about this and so forth, and all these videos they're about us. We're one person, there's one presence, there's one God. But it's infinitely different from this world. It's so calming and perfect and pure and true. And you'll be aware and see through everything. It's like this diaphanous, softly lit cloud that I see all day, every day. This I can see my buddies here, my sensei. We're all not our bodies. Throughout my life, people wanted me to help do a healing for this or that, the other, and I do it, but it's like, that's not the point. The point is this complete wisdom and understanding. So we simply quiet ourselves, seclude ourselves off into a corner somewhere. I know we grew up in South Philly, I talked about it a couple of times. I would hide behind garbage cans, and like, because it was in the just so many places you could go. And when I'd go out at night, and so no one would see me, because I didn't have the words or the thoughts for it then, but it just, I knew it was there. Until my friend Dr. Buxbays, and he was the editor of the Poetry Journal at Temple University. I went after the Marine Corps. So we had a perfect friendship, and he was a professor, but I was and one day went up to his apartment, and then he had a little poem on the wall. It said, thousands of monks on hilltops everywhere, the wind blows through our mind. So right now I can feel all my Japanese, Korean Dr. Sho. We started the World Zen Center together with Edward Wilkinson, started the Wilkinson School down here, and so on and so forth, the five of us. And we run into each other once in 50 years, and there's nothing to do or say. We're living the same, we're in the Pure Land. So my friend Rinpoche, Vendel Rinpoche, I had him, anyway, the point is, we'd see each other and there was nothing to say. When the Dalai Lama would come to California, he would run all the services and all because he was the High Lama, the Rinpoche. Rinpoche means precious one. So these are very tough, strong men, not weak. The Zen masters I've known in all are. The martial arts teachers are very pure souls. And that's the power, not martial arts, no weaponry. It's not social or political, though I have heroes out there that are doing the right thing. But even most of my spiritual friends are really stupid in terms of the day-to-day activities and the social, political atmosphere. I made it very clear in those books I wrote. And you don't react to it, you don't give it anything. You can see right from wrong, but don't be arguing over something on the streets. That's unimaginably weak. That's a weak thing to do. That's weak. If you're not strong enough to quiet yourself, to look off into the distant lands, the sunlit mornings and nights and evenings. In other words, the sun being God, the pure light, the true light, the only light that giveth light. And you are that light. Before churches were, before names were named, before people lived, before anything was, you were. You're there now in this timeless, not moment, just openness, simplicity, kindness. The point again is it's just this subtle, diffuse light that is just, it's what you feel for a newborn. Do you understand? But it's 1,000 times more delicate and kindly lit than that. Imagine such a presence. That's why I respect my friend Susan George that put that book together after time. We have a friendship that no one else can see. We're completely different in the world in every way, but very gifted people can see and understand things that other people cannot communicate. I'm trying to communicate that right now. The spiritual amongst us are not stupid, we're not weak. I knew my friends in Nepal who were so spiritual, and I know I live with I'm not going to go into it, it's something very, very precious and spiritual and healing and helpful, but when you're in this place, you know that we can gather up. The forgotten ones. We can heal the wounded, teach the young, empower the brave. It's endlessly, endlessly, endlessly more delicate, this presence. So you're aware of this transfuse, this light that moves through it all, that's called God, eternity. So I'm very clear I have to be this person, this body, which took me so long to even understand. Still don't know how to take care of it because I don't even get it. Because none of the images of the world, the senses, the places, it's not here to me. It never will be. It couldn't be, it can't be. So when we're spiritual, we're not our body or our problems or the solution to our problems. We're made of this unbearable lightness, right? Just be a little more conscious. Don't react to anything. Don't react to anything of this life. In other words, this world is a hell, it's a construct, or however you want to term it. And if you don't relate to it all, your thoughts, your feelings, what you think history is, you'll transfer all your consciousness through it. It'll be like nothing. Like I say, I get hit with thousands of things all day, and it's okay. Please understand that there's nothing wrong with you. Our weakness has been our kindness, our decency, our humanity. You understand? There's nothing to be afraid of, and there's nothing to stand up for. Just understand this wisdom. And we look through it all. Remember when all was well with the world, when you were 3, 4, 5, or 7, before really bad things happened? When you fell in love? That's the beginning sense of this. And it extrapolates out to this delicate, pure presence. You'll see it in great art, and I mean great art. And if you know the difference of that and some picture somewhere, but if you see it with the eye of the artist, it's a spiritual artist, and everything is beauty. For after all, beauty is the face of our God. But it's so beautiful, so delicate, so elegant, so true, and so ephemeral. But it's not ephemeral once you step into it. There are universes that are all infinitely more glorious than anyone can imagine. People have these near-death experiences, or they floating above their body. I've certainly had them, and I've been in those places in a hospital and so forth, where I've had those things. But I remember under drastic conditions, I'm not going to go into it, where there was life and death and bodies and stuff all around us. And I was living in the Pure Land. You understand? You are the Pure Land. You're the chosen of God. This time around is the last. Let go of all your trepidation about your fears, all your conditioning of your mind, body, your heart, your soul. Listen to God. You know what you'll find? God listening to you to do the next millisecond right thing for you. This is my experience, the most unimaginable, subtly beyond everything we experience in our conditioning. God is there, aware of all of it. God actually is God. And although this is a construct, and I'm aware of it, and it's very conscious, and it's 1,000 times more on you than you think it is. Everything has something behind it that's devilish. But it's fear-based, so if you give it nothing, if you look it in the eye, it will flee from you. The devil fears one righteous person more than 1,000 blind believers. It's not just faith, it's a knowing, it's a knowledge, it's an awareness. Sit quietly, talk to God. Or when you're walking down the street, on your bicycle, in your car, playing a game, working. I'm always here. I make things happen around me that people don't realize I've helped their home, their business, their family, that I've given everything to make it work to that, and they're still arguing under the same roof that I provided. I'm just simply saying, as a spiritual person, we create things, or God creates circumstances for us. I know there are many institutions that I was involved in, then I knew God set it up. So at a time I needed to learn that, to add this to my spiritual weaponry, that I would come in and be there, and I'd get it, and then I'd go, and because I'd always see the limitations. Not because I'm better than anything, because I always loved and was humble to everyone and anything I was ever around, but you get that little bit of knowledge, and for all of us it'll be a little bit different. So you will be like my friend that owned the Gaylord of India restaurants. Back in '79, when I had a place in the city, I remember walking and I leaned into the beautiful wooden doors of his Indian restaurant, and I kind of fell through. It was like, and then I saw this very handsome, just a real gentleman, Indian gentleman, and I said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I don't know how I got here." And he said, "Because I fell through the door, literally leaning on it for a second, and which would not be something I do, but happened. It was this ornate wooden door, and then as I fell in and took a step and I looked at him, I said, "I'm sorry, I don't know how I got here." And he said, "You were guided." So everything in your life, you will be guided. Talk to God. God will talk to you. the most infinitesimal detail in our life, we'll find a way to step through everything. We are the instrument. We are God's fingertips in this world, literally. And again, this sense of faith with God is infinitely more wonderful. But it's there. I feel it now. I always have. My spiritual friends do. The point being there, it's not just faith, it's something more than that. I know that this will end. And a lot of this is being said to explain the fact that people in our beginning search or quest is like, how can this world be, I can call this an illusion or the way station to eternity, it's so real in the pain. Well, the presence you feel of God. It's so ephemeral, light, and imagine love and kindness being extrapolated out to like 1,000 times more precious and pure. And that's what you'll feel of God. So you'll know that there's reason to feel guilt and this and that. The whole thing's a setup. You've been set up from birth. This is hell. You're God's presence in this world at this time. The last time. Seek and you shall find. In other words, quietly, it's not seek and you shall, these are spiritual terms from the Bible, it's spiritual text. If you read it right in the original Aramaic or Greek, Hebrew, the original, you know, and you'll even see the things in it that were changed by God's secretaries who put together the King James Bible, which is the most gorgeous, because the language in it captures a sense of spirituality, the beauty, the dignity. And there are certain political things in there for the king, but the point is that when you know the original languages, you'll know that even you'll capture the spiritual sense of something. Not that every word, this or that, doesn't matter, but who begat this or that, the other. We'll say it says in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. In the Aramaic that it was originally translated from, it says in a beginning, not in the beginning, so it was more poetic. So like the book Susan George put together, After Time, or Island of Hearts, or Heaven, these books I wrote, or all these videos, it's a more poetic, gentle, like write poetry, the ones you love, your mom, everything is beautiful to God. Plea for sanity in this world, but in that you have gifts and you have powers. Use them. But they're all of a spiritual nature. I have the ability to sit quietly for like combat veterans, and I do it for everyone, all my work, and then when people are calmed out, then all my life this heavenly presence moves through me, and I can correct, redirect, heal, inspire anyone and everyone around me. And as a person in the world, this devilish force hits me no matter where I'm at, shopping or this or that, and I just step through it. It gets very, very, the more intelligent we are, and all spiritual people are brilliant, God knows, but we have different sensory equipment. All very intelligent spiritual people spend an enormous amount of time alone because they're figuring things out, they're creating things, they're delving into mysteries that only the wise could know. And they're all transcendent of this seeming world that is a hell, and if you give it nothing and you don't react to any of our sensory equipment, our thoughts, our feelings, our images, you realize you were set up from birth, because through it all, always we feel this presence that we know is the real of us. And we know that bodies, we know why people have guilt and remorse and they get angry and hurt each other's bodies. That's the illusion that is a hell. And you can step beyond it and through it. See, as soon as you start giving it power like it's really here, that's the mistake. That's the Garden of Eden. Talk to God, God will talk to you. The ways around and through the different healing methodologies, they'll all hit you when it'll just keep happening. Talk to God and God will talk to you. Like I say all my life, with this or that, it was all circumstances. So I've seen and understood every kind of circumstance and situation in the world and personality, and on and on and on. It's like my Aunt Miriam or my nephew Brad or Justine, my niece, or my teacher, Susan George, or these people there are very, very gifted people in the world. And they'll come into your life here and there. But the biggest thing is, so once you start opening your mind to the fact that you were set up, let go of the guilt. But I'll feel guilt towards everyone in the world that's precious until this world is gone. But that guilt is, again, it gets more sensitive, more gentle, more kind. It's a care. You'll do anything for those you love. Anything. I know I have, and it's not, I move to say this, it's not normally spiritual people, their biggest problem is humility. Because we're not really here, the world's not really real, and we're being set up all the time. And we can't say, I am not spiritual, I'm this. It's very hard to do because this doesn't exist. And when you step into this presence that is spirituality, it's just it's a child's breath times a trillion infinities. And there is this Godhead talked about in the scripture that I can see now, and but it's so infinitely complex and pure and beautiful. So I am in awe of it forever, and God, forgive me to say this, is in awe of us forever. And he takes it all on himself, always, around the clock, like a dad should. There is a God. You are his offspring. You are a pure soul, a kind soul. You've been set up from birth. And now you're a teacher. You're someone to be reckoned with. You'll fold up the whole thing like a moth-bitten blanket and put it off in a closet somewhere. And what happens beyond that is, I'm a man underneath all this, and so we'll have our day. So once we get rid of all the imagery, and if there's a Satan beyond it, then there won't be. That I can assure you. But we clean up as much as we can by healing and helping and redirecting those we love and care for around us, protecting our family and all, but the strongest part of it is our soul. I mean, dad will die for his children, and mom lives for her children. And we're God's children. And God is our dad. Heaven is our mom. You will fulfill a most spiritual destiny. The whole point is that the world is everything to make it real, and the things and the circumstances. And if you can get beyond that, then you'll have power. I've done it all my life, created circumstances and situations, but it's always so delicate because if people don't believe in God, it's not. God's so subtle, God's not going to knock a door down to show them. We have to be quiet, not react to anything, and then you'll become what God is. You are that. You're born here of your own volition, spiritually. Something in your soul of infinity let you know there's something wrong in the universe, and you just dropped in. And you gave up the entirety of your spirituality through that aperture called birth. That's what happened. And this thing is 100 trillion times smaller than the smallest subatomic particle to you when you're spiritual. In sense of its presence, of solid, the phenomenological world it's absurd to me. But I didn't know till one day when Dr. Buxbason said, when I asked him what meditation was, and he said, just follow your breath. Inhale, follow your breath down. And as soon as I started doing that, I had a sense, I had a thought, I had something that in the equation that made sense to me. And that moment, I understood everything about God. And I didn't tell John. And I walked home from his place to my apartment in Philly. I told about 20 people on the way to come to my place every Tuesday night, Tuesday and Thursday, at 7 to 9, and I'd have meditation classes. I never thought of it until then, but I knew everything about God in that moment. You know everything about God in this moment. Teach, heal, correct, redirect, bless, love, more than anything, love. Your neighbor, your friend, your mom, first of all. Respect your dad. Honor the kingdom. It's yours. I give you that. You'll heal your loved ones by understanding the purity of this presence and how this present world, it's nothing. And I'm not talking about meditation or this ism or that ism or some religion. I'm talking about you experiencing this precious first breath of a beautiful morning in love. With the betrothed, you are just, your honeymoon begins. Think of true love, the one you love, your mom, your family, and know that you don't have to do anything in the world. It's in your heart and soul. You have gifts and powers from on high. I will be with you. God will be with you. All the teachers you know about, you'll pick up books of this one or that one. They're with me 24 hours a day. We're not here. And yet I experience more of hell than anyone I know because I won't do anything else but find out better avenues of approach to help express the simplicity of knowing Him, the only God. And you are God's family and very best friend. You will fulfill your destiny. That is written. God bless you, and please understand that it's such a delicate sense, but that's real power. This world will be over very soon. And this real things, and this is how you express it to your material friends, to have a heart and want to grow, that this is so powerful to us, and the solidity of the world is so nothing, and that has to be gotten across somehow. Find it in your own words. I know I'm kind of failing on it right now, but I wrote those books. Please look through them, and you'll find it written in that sense of poetic, spiritual, transcendent purity. Say it in your own words, write it, speak it. Hug the ones you love. You don't have to leave your easy chair to hug them. Do you understand how beautiful this is? It's so subtle. It's like a candlelit room on a very romantic evening. The divine romance begins now and forevermore in your life. You're holy and true. Please understand that's the way you're looked at by the heavens. Yes, we feel guilt and remorse because we want to fix everyone, and that's okay, but it gets so delicate. It gets into like the awe, and like you are before a child. You do anything to protect the child. And that's all spirituality is. You're the child, the father, the mother, the caretaker, and the best friend. And you're the reason I'm not afraid of the future in this world. Let there be time no longer. Let the mystery of God should be finished. And that's why Susan George called the book After Time. That's from Revelation 10. And she's the most wonderful person I know, but no one knows it because she's had to work for politicians as a city manager and so forth. Took her little baby to work with her as a city manager every day, and also and mentors children and orphans all of her life. No one knows about it. I've seen her around sick animals and so forth. And we all have that feeling for a sick animal, but they come to our house. I love you guys, and this is a war, and I'm so sorry for what you're going through in your day-to-day life. It's horrible, I know it. We'll win this thing by knowing what we are and how drastic this world impinges upon the finenesses of our heart and soul and mind or body, but it's if we're step into this greater atmosphere, there won't be questions, there'll only be answers. You are the answer from God, from heaven, to fold this whole thing up. It's in perception. Read the spiritual books, pray, talk to friends, help someone, listen to them, heal them. And let's end this madness soon. Thank you so much for listening. God bless your soul forever. You are forever now. And that's power. I know when I faced guns and so forth, I wasn't afraid. I only wanted to help my friends. Help your friends. Thank you for listening. Thank you very much. God bless you. Thank you, Mr. Skoll.